higher in the 21st century. Hard-working people working hard for you and me. Moving higher, time and time again. Through the years you'll find us here. Moving higher.
Hello and welcome to Moving Iron Podcast number 177. Today my guest is Shawn Skaggs, and Shawn Skaggs is a friend of mine. He works down at Livingston Machinery, and he also has a little podcast of his own, and we'll get into that a little bit. But it's a nice little jingle. I'll let him introduce it and run it down. But I gotta do the pay the bills first here. This edition of Moving Iron Podcast is brought to you by Dawson Tire and Wheel, the premier ag tire and wheel provider in North America. Also, Tractor Zoom delivering insights, and Dryshod boots, the official work boot of the Moving Iron Podcast. So, Shawn, how you been, bud?
I've been as well as can be expected, Casey.
Yeah, there's nothing going on in the world right now that could make you feel any angst or any kind of high blood pressure or anything right now. I think they're pretty easy going, aren't they?
Yeah, it's pretty stress-free life. We just sit around all day with our feet up on the desk, drinking soda pops. Got somebody over here fanning me. It's good times.
It's gumdrops and candy canes, right, buddy?
Yeah.
All right. Well, before we get too into this, what's happening with COVID-19 and how it's affecting the folks down in Oklahoma, tell everybody about your podcast and what you got going on there.
Sure. So my podcast is called Impact, Legacy, and Meaning. And what it's about is it's a little bit about business, but it's a lot about life and building a legacy and those kind of things. And so it's something that some people may be interested in checking out. I'm really into personal improvement and self-development, and that's what the podcast is geared around as much as anything. The first season is out, and then I took a little hiatus because we got into basketball season with my kids. And when you've got 5 kids and you're in basketball season and you've got 2 to 3 basketball games every single night, you don't have time for a podcast. So,
that's tough.
So we're on hiatus for now. But now that the basketball season is definitely over, it ended kind of abruptly. I had one that was still in the state tournament whenever they shut everything down, and so I don't know if they're ever going to finish that state tournament or not. But anyway, with all that shut down, we should have some time again soon, but we've had a few other concerns to deal with in the meantime.
Yeah. So. Yeah, it's no doubt. This is it's a trying time, and it's also it's a different time. So I guess tell folks, let's talk about what you see happen now. So for people that don't know, Shawn works with Livingston Machinery. He is the CEO, right? The CEO down there?
Yeah.
Okay. CEO of Livingston Machinery and Big Baler USA, right? You guys sell the big 4x4s, the big 3x4s, those big square balers down there, and basically cover Oklahoma Panhandle, New Mexico, a little bit of Texas, in that area.
Yeah, we've got 4 stores, 2 in western Oklahoma, 2 in the Panhandle of Texas, and we kind of cover that western Oklahoma, West Texas, and a little bit of New Mexico, and it gets a little bit into Colorado sometimes. We've got a few customers up there, but kind of covering that region with those 4 stores. We're very spread out. We do a lot, with 4 stores to cover that big an area is kind of a big job, but that's the way we've always done it, and so that's just what we're still geared up to do.
Yeah. So let's talk about what we see happen here. So same way, we had this January, February thing, and the whole coronavirus thing was kind of kicking up, and it's in China and whatever, not a big deal. And it kind of started making its way across Europe, and we had a few cases in the U.S., which, whatever, no big deal. And then all of a sudden it just starts spiraling out of control on the East Coast and starts making its way west. And I don't know, we've had our first case here in Scottsbluff where I'm at this weekend or last weekend. So we finally got a little taste of the paranoia that's going on around there. So now everything here's shut down. No restaurants are open. You have to get carry out, and no bars and none of that stuff. There's a waiting line to get into Walmart and all those kind of fun things. So there's all these crazy things going on. So kind of what's going on down in your neck of the woods, and what are your customers kind of, what's their feel and what's their tone right now? What's going on?
Sure. So, we went through a lot of the same, I think kind of saw this thing the same way that a lot of people did. I probably didn't take it seriously enough at first. I kept seeing the numbers and seeing that they were still minuscule compared to what the flu does, and so I kept thinking, well, this is just another flu, but it's not. It's different than what the flu is, and had people started talking about it, I guess, right before we had our spring break locally. And so I left that week with my kids to go skiing for spring break, and we drove out to Angel Fire, New Mexico, and we got there on Sunday afternoon, ready for a big week of skiing. And then on Monday morning, they announced that was going to be the only day that they were going to be open. And so they were shutting down at the end of the day at 4:00 that day. They were going to be shut down for the rest of the season. And they had already shut down the other ski resorts in the area. So we had thousands of people coming from the other ski resorts to come ski over there with us, which made it, not a great day for skiing because it was a 30 to 45 minute wait just to get back on the lifts. So we only got in one day there, and then they shut that down. And I kept thinking, man, this is just crazy. Why are people, behaving this way? But obviously that was the week whenever things really seemed to accelerate fast.
It was took off.
It did. It kind of took off at that point. And, restaurants started shutting down everywhere. We just stayed out in the mountains because we thought, if we're not going to be able to do anything, why not just sit around in the mountains and watch deer come onto your back porch for a few days before you go back home?
Right?
Yeah, there's worse places to be. So then whenever I got back home, obviously things were different here at the dealership. People they didn't know what to think. Some people were scared. Some people were panicked. Some people were still blowing it off, but it was a very different environment whenever I got back than it was whenever I had left.
Yeah.
And so, the main thing that, at that point we still hadn't even had, I think at that point we had maybe one death in the state of Oklahoma and maybe 4 or 5 cases total, but it's obviously grown, pretty quickly from there. Still not huge numbers in Oklahoma, but they shut things down pretty quickly as far as, having high-risk people stay at home and trying to shut down non-essential businesses and those kind of things last week. Whenever we saw that happening, we kind of saw the handwriting on the wall that we were going to have to probably do business differently than what we've done it in the past.
Yeah.
And so, it's different at our Oklahoma stores than it is in our West Texas stores. In West Texas, they're a little bit more isolated. They're not as close to big cities as what we are at the Oklahoma stores. And so they're still not feeling it in the same way that we are here at the Oklahoma stores. Out there, it's still kind of business as usual. Customers are still coming in. They never really slowed down at all out there. Here in Oklahoma, our parts and service business was still going, but, the phones had basically just stopped ringing last week, and it got really quiet. And that's probably one of the worst things that could have happened, simply because whenever people don't have things to do to keep them busy, they start watching the news, they start looking at Facebook on their phone and doing those kind of things. And those are just fear machines. I mean, that's how they make their money. Yeah. And so that made people a lot more nervous. And so we realized that we were going to have to do some things different. And then, we had a couple of customers come in that didn't really respect the whole social distancing thing whenever they came in last week. And we knew that something was going to have to change. And we actually made the decision on April 1st to lock up the showroom and not let customers inside of our buildings. And so we had to change some processes, get some communication out to customers, let them know that they were going to have to call first before they came, or once they got there, there were phone numbers posted outside that they could call, and we would bring parts either to them in the parking lot, or they could pull around to one of the warehouse doors and we'd load them out of that warehouse door. But whatever happened, nobody was coming in the building that didn't work here, because we just wanted to reduce the risk. We have a lot of people that work for us that are kind of in that high risk category that don't want to go and stay home in quarantine. And we want them to be able to work if they want to be able to work. Although if they feel like they need to go home, we highly encourage them to go home. But it's been just a very different environment. It's very up and down from day to day, depending on what the news comes up with, or what the latest thing to pop up on Facebook, latest rumor to pop up on Facebook is. And so it's been interesting to deal with from day to day, but our people really have done a great job of kind of adjusting. We've stayed calm. We have, we've made the adjustments to our processes that we need to, so that we can still take care of customers, and everybody's still really committed to taking care of our customers. We just have to do it in a little different way than we used to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's the same way out here. I mean, we haven't closed the showrooms off yet, but we kind of try to limit the number of people that are in the showroom at any given time. Same deal. We've really ramped up our parts online and we're calling ahead and all those kind of things. So we're doing the same things that can try to keep things as safe as possible. And like you said, so we have some customers that think this is the biggest blown out of proportion thing on the planet, and then we got some guys that are scared to death that we're going to be shut down during while they're out trying to plant a crop and they can't get parts, and they're just so. And then, like you said, all the truth in the world comes out of Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. So I mean, there's nothing but solid truth there all the way across. So I mean, it's little things like that kind of fuel the fire of this. There's already enough just angst already, and then they start, like you said, they've got some free time on their hands, and they're like, well, we'll just see what's going on. The next thing you know is martial law's coming, and we're going to shut down every grocery store on the planet, and you guys are going to have to go out and shoot deer and live off of roots for the next 30 days. I mean, it's just those are the kind of stuff that pop up. And I think when I look at it, we have a farmer's going to farm and a rancher's going to ranch, right? So they've got a crop to plant and a crop to harvest. They've got cows to feed and hay to bale. So as long as they're got life in their body, they're going to do all those things. And that's the thing about us as equipment dealerships. We have to be there to support that. And there's just no other way around it, right? I mean, if that's the one thing that makes the U.S. great is that we have this well-oiled machine when it comes to agriculture and food production and the machine that gets it from point A to point B, and grocery stores that have stock shelves. And we have other things to worry about that might not be that big of a deal because everyone's got plenty of food to eat. So it's those are the kind of things that keep this country rolling. But I guess I said this to the guy the other day. We were talking on the phone. I said, if I woke up out of a coma yesterday and I went to my office and didn't know anything about COVID-19 or whatever else, I would just think it's typical spring ramp up to planting season. Just business hasn't fallen off. I don't want to say business hasn't fallen off. There's still plenty of activity. We got plenty of quotes out there. So our shops are full. We got guys getting parked, those kind of things. But you can feel like you're kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop. Do you have that same feeling when you look at your business?
Absolutely. And especially on the equipment sales side, I really think parts and service is going to continue to roll. People have still got to farm, and we've got to go and help them do that. But I think on the equipment sales side, it always works that way, so that when people get nervous, they start to hesitate and they kind of sit on their hands for a while. And I can't blame them for sitting on their hands right now if that's what they want to do. I mean, that's only the natural reaction. And so I think we're going to see a lot of that for the next few months. I think once we work our way through this deal, that I think we could see a lot of kind of catch-up business, and we may have a really big fourth quarter. But I think that second and third quarter could be rough. It's very possible because without those equipment sales, it's hard to generate enough gross margin to cover all the bills, right?
Right. Yep.
And so that's one of the things that we're kind of watching for and trying to plan for as best we can is trying to be ready for all that, if that's the case. But so far, like you said, sales are up. Sales are way up. And so far, everything looks really good from a financial standpoint, but we're just waiting for that other shoe to drop. And we want to be prepared if it does. And I hope that it does. And I sincerely hope that everything just keeps going in our business the way that it was, because things were going great. But we always got to be, you hope for the best and plan for the worst, and you're probably going to land somewhere in between.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, we look at our March this year we had a great first quarter, and it was, a combination of things like we've talked about in the past. Everyone is updating their equipment or really kind of at that point where the reconditioning costs have hit us at a higher reconditioning point anyway, where they've got to spend some money to really fix that one integral part of the combine or tractor or baler or whatever it is that they've kind of been putting off, and now they have to do it because it'll blow up when it goes to the field type of thing. So that's kind of where we're at, and that's what we're seeing happen. And I think that's what's driving a lot of our equipment sales is that mentality, is what we see happening there. Some guys have put 10, 15, 20 grand in their combine here the last 3 or 4 years, and they're kind of wondering how many more years do I feel like doing that. I think we're getting some guys coming to the table with that, but it's a tough one because it's the interest is where we're seeing that's driving our businesses is interest rates, because obviously they're higher now and they've come down a little bit, but that interest is getting to be a bigger deal than what we've seen in the past. What are you seeing right now when you talk with your customers that are some triggers that are like, oh, this is kind of what we didn't expect this, or did we kind of plan for this? I guess when you're talking to your customers as far as kind of getting them off center a little bit.
Well, I mean, it's been, as far as what you hear, it's kind of a mixed bag, but for the most part, our customers are still pretty positive. I mean, they've got a really good looking crop in the ground right now.
Yeah.
We've seen, we're a big wheat state here in Oklahoma, and even parts of the panhandle of Texas, there's a lot of wheat, and wheat prices have jumped right back up there since China was kind of forced to start buying wheat from us again. And so wheat prices have come back up. That's got them feeling pretty positive. We're having kind of a wet spring here right now, which isn't great for planting, but it is really good for all those winter crops that we've got in the ground. And so, we've got a lot of potential right now, and the potential to see some commodity prices come back up a little bit, because there are going to be some food shortages in some other places. And so I think that they're pretty positive about the business in general. They're worried about what's going on in the world, just like everybody else is. But in general, our customers seem to be pretty positive. They kind of expect to have a good year, at least a better year than what they've had the last couple of years. And so, just a lot of positive feelings, I guess, in our area. One other thing that I'll throw out there is I've talked to customers that have come here the last couple of days. Is if you're out there and you're trying to figure out, should I close my showroom doors or should I not? Those kind of things. The customers understand 100%.
Yeah.
I was really worried about it. That's the big worry whenever you do something like this is, what are the customers going to think? Are they going to understand why we're doing this? And, whenever we did it the first day on April 1st, I was worried about that. And I was walking across from my building over to where the dealership's at about 7:50 that first morning. And there's already a customer there picking up parts. And one of our parts people came out and she was putting parts in the back of his pickup, and then she went back inside the shop or back inside the warehouse, and she left the warehouse walk-through door open. And that customer started walking towards that walk-through door, and I thought, oh boy, here we go. There's the first one that's just going to ignore our signs and walk right on into the warehouse. And he walked up to that door and he reached out with his foot and he took his toe and he shut that door with his toe and wouldn't even touch it. And then he stepped back about 6 feet. And I thought, well, maybe this is going to be all right.
Yeah.
And as I talked to them throughout the day, they understand. Their main concern is stay open for us. Do whatever you have to do to make sure that we can still get parts and service. Yep.
And that's our customers are saying the exact same thing. Even to the point where there's no need for you to come out here. You can text me, you can call me, you can email me, you can FaceTime me, you can do whatever you want to, unless I'll call you when I need you to come out here. So, and I think they see it from their side of the fence too. They're like, when your employees get me sick and I can't go plant my crop, or I can't harvest my crop, or I can't go feed my cows, or, most farmers and ranchers are kind of a one-man show. They might have a hired man or something like that, but the majority of the work they're doing is them. And if they go down,
not to mention the fact that the majority of our customers are still, kind of in that high risk category.
Yeah, that's the other side of it too. Yeah,
and so they don't want to contract this stuff. So they want you to be safe, and they want to be safe. And so I think for the most part they're going to understand. So do whatever you think you need to do to keep your business open so that you can go and serve those customers. Yeah. One other thing that I would really put out there is, if you're a leader in your dealership, man, be the calm in the storm right now. There's plenty of people who are out there trying to, propagate that fear because they get some kind of a kick out of it. Yeah. But don't be that guy. Don't sit around watching the news and Facebook. Be the guy that helps people take action, because that's what's gonna overcome the fear and make sure that you're being the calm in the storm right now, because that's what people need. So
don't lead with your hair on fire, is what you're saying.
Exactly.
Yeah, we have a handful of those folks in the dealership. No, fellas, bring it down a notch. So, but yeah, no, I think there's going to be opportunity that comes from this, and there's going to be, like you said, a lot of struggle that comes out of this too. But I think overall there's going to be, hopefully, this April 30th thing kind of comes and goes, and we can get everything back open and back to work, and or at least open up parts of the country that aren't overly affected by what's going on, and kind of like where you live at and where I live at. There's not enough people really to have a huge issue kind of pop up, but we're not living on top of each other, and we got a lot of space between us, so it's pretty easy to self what do they call that?
Self
quarantine and social distancing and all that stuff is just the nature of where you live at for a lot of the stuff.
Yeah. But, until you visit a Walmart.
That's right. I went to my wife. She sent me to the store the other day. I was out running around getting some remodeling my bathroom, and she's like, "Hey, while you're out, stop by Walmart and get some, or go out to the grocery store and get this frozen bread she wants to make some beer rocks out of stuff." And they didn't have it at the grocery store that we normally go to, so the other place is Walmart. I'm like, "You're making me go to Walmart to get you some stupid frozen rolls? I mean, you must not love me as much as I thought you did." So yeah, but I went there, and it was the number of people walking around with masks on and rubber gloves and everything. I'm like, you know, you get the mask and the rubber gloves.
If it's going to spread around here, it's going to be at a Walmart or a Lowe's. If you go to a Lowe's right now, because people are sitting at home with nothing to do, and they're thinking, I'm going to start that home improvement project. Yeah. And so then you go to Lowe's, and there's 2,000 people inside of Lowe's. And I went there the other day to try and get some asphalt repair stuff, and that was a mistake. I wanted to turn. I didn't. I should have just turned around and went back home and left the pothole, but I didn't, and I won't do that again. Yeah, I got to get a sheet of plywood last night, and I'm just walking around going, man, you don't really need that sheet of plywood that bad. So, but I don't know. Let's see. We'll see what happens. But no, I think there's some craziness going on out there right now. I guess as you take a look at, you mentioned, quarter 2 and quarter 3 being a little tired, and you thought, I'm kind of in the same boat you are. I feel like there's going to be a pop. I really think that there could be some movement here early summer, late summer, depending on what you see. China's offloading all the ships they can offload right now, and they're going to start, you would think, buying some commodities and bringing stuff back home because they got to feed the people. So you got to think there's that coming, but you might not see any of that until August, September, October, before that really starts to set in. So I guess talk about that a little bit and where you see that heading. Well, for me, we had planned, a really good second and third quarter. We felt like our sales were definitely going to be up this year, and had planned for that, but hadn't gone out of the way to spend a lot of money towards that. But we were still planning on having a really good second and third quarter this year, and so we haven't changed any of our plans. We haven't changed any of our goals. We're leaving everything the same until we see a reason to do otherwise. But that's the thing that I worry about is typically people don't spend money until they feel good about the economy in general, right? Especially whenever they're making major purchases like a $175,000 windrow or a $300,000 tractor. They want to feel pretty good about the direction of where things are going before they spend that money. And so a lot of it's going to depend, I think, on how long this deal drags out, because you hear some people and they're saying, "Oh, well, we'll open everything back up on April 30th," and then you hear some people that say, "Well, no, we're really going to come out about April 20th and say, well, guys, we're going to leave this, for another month, and then after that month's over with, we're going to say we're going to leave it for another month," because they're just trying to slow it down enough that it takes until August for this to run through the whole country. And if that's the case, then it's going to be a while before people feel great about the economy and it really roars back again. And so I think if we see that, but the other side of it is, like you said, people have to eat, our farmers have to farm. And so if there's demand there, if there's a real reason for them to trade, and there's going to be some of them that have a real reason to go ahead and trade. And so there's definitely still going to be some business out there. But I think that before we see it really bounce back and be as strong as what we'd originally planned on, it's probably going to be in, probably late in that third quarter, early fourth quarter before we start to see that thing really rebound. That's just my guess, though. Nobody knows at this point. Yeah, nobody knows. But I think you have a pretty good guess there from what I see. I get Pro Farmer here every morning. It pops up and gives me this kind of the headlines for the day type of thing, and the
the markets and what have you. And one of the paragraphs, one of the headings for one of the paragraphs they have is jobs report first of several ahead to show U.S. economic collapse. So those are the kind of reports that don't help anything when you like back to feeding the fire. You know what I mean? It's just
Exactly.
stuff like that. Just kind of like you could have come up with a lot of better ways to word that than that. You know, but I get what they're trying to do. You know, they're trying to get shock and awe and sell papers and subscriptions and everything else. And that's pretty easy.
You can always look at the positive side of it, and it should be easier to hire technicians for once.
Right? Yeah, there's going to be
a lot of people looking for something to do. So,
yep, that's for sure. Yeah, especially if you're not in one of these quote unquote essential businesses. You know, like we're fortunate enough to be in that category, but if you're not in one of those categories, man, I'll tell you what. Back home in Wichita, where I'm from, I was talking to a friend of mine, and some of the aircraft folks out there have laid off 7,000 people.
Wow.
So that's a lot of people that hit the streets all in 1 week without any jobs or anything going on. So I don't know. It's unprecedented times, so you're going to see unprecedented things, and hopefully that we can rebound, and it's not going to be some big, huge, devastating, long-term, drag on the economy because of the amount of money that we're pumping into the system right now. But I mean, I guess what do? Do you let things collapse because no one's working, or do you let things collapse because you put a bunch of money in the system? I don't know. I mean, it's just kind of damn if you do, damn if you don't. So it'll be interesting to see how things shake out.
Yeah, all anybody can do is just make the best decisions they can with the information they've got at the time, and try and stay positive, man. But there's going to be some positive out there. There's always a silver lining, and the main reason I want to emphasize that isn't because I'm not taking this thing seriously. I am taking it seriously, but it doesn't do any good to sit there and focus on the negative. It's not going to help you one iota or anybody else. And so you may as well focus on the positives and go and try and get whatever you can get. And this is a great time to innovate. This is a great time to streamline your processes, to get a lot better at all this online stuff, whether it be online communications or whether it be the way that you do business online. It's a great opportunity to get better at that. We're gonna be thrown into the fire on this deal, which is whenever you get forged, right? That's whenever you have to get better to survive, and so that's what we got to do.
That's the old saying, iron sharpens iron type of deal. So that's where we're going to be at, man. All right, Shawn. Well, tell them about your podcast one more time.
Yeah, it's the Impact, Legacy, and Meaning podcast. You can search for that, or you can search for my name, Shawn Skaggs, in whatever your favorite podcast player is, and it'll pop right up. If you want a little bit of positivity and maybe a little bit of Stoic philosophy thrown in there, it's a great place to go. Most of them are pretty short. There's a few longer interviews in there, but for the most part, it's me on my own, just trying to give you a little short inspiration for the day. So, check us out, see if you like it. If you do, give us a rating on iTunes.
Absolutely. And Shawn, if folks want to reach out to you and just pick your brain about what's going on, or just send you an email and say, what's up? What's the best way to do that? Yeah,
the best way to do that is you can email me at sskaggs@livingstonmachinery.com. I couldn't find a longer email address. It's the longest one I could get. sskaggs@livingstonmachinery.com. Or you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. That's just about the only other social media platform that I'm on. But yeah, just email me, or you're welcome to call me at 405-224-5056.
Right on, man. All right, Shawn, well, I appreciate you being on the podcast, and we'll catch you down the road, buddy.
All right. Thanks, Casey. Glad to be on.
Right on, man. I'm Casey Seymour with Moving Iron Podcast. Make sure you check me out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Also, check out movingironllc.com for all the latest Moving Iron podcast stuff, and blog posts, and those kind of things. Also, check out the Global Ag Network and all the great podcasters on there as well. So, until next time, I'm Casey Seymour with Shawn Skaggs. Let's go move some iron, folks. Out.
Moving iron in the 21st century. Hard work.